everyone. So, we are going to dig in some more to this thin woman's brain. I'm just going to start reading some of this stuff and highlighting points in here. We'll start with chapter 1. Restore the brain, lose the weight. We're wired to overeat. She starts off by talking about how every year over 10,000 diet books hit the market. You know, the new diets, the Atkins, the paleo. I want to start by saying I do not judge anybody that does any. If I mention any of these that she mentions in her book, and if I happen to agree or disagree, it's neither here or there. Whatever works for you, keep doing that. This is for people like me who are struggling to find that lifestyle change, that lifestyle switch, something that we can maintain and do for the long haul and not feel like we're on a diet all the time. She says the most important statistic that anyone considering losing weight should know: most of the people who manage to lose weight by dieting gain the weight back within the first year. We've all heard that. We've all probably experienced that, or most of us have. If you're like me, this has been a lifelong thing. The most repressed statistic in the diet industry: only 3 out of every 100 people who reach their goal manage to maintain that weight loss beyond the first year. This includes people like on The Biggest Loser, these shows that do the extreme weight loss. So obviously those odds aren't good. It doesn't mean it doesn't work for some people. So having said that, are we really that spineless? Do we really lack that much willpower? Or is there another explanation? If you conducted a debriefing with the 97 people who could not hang on to their hard-won weight loss, what you would find is that after they attempted to go back to normal eating, they experienced hunger far more often than before the weight loss program. After ending the diet, they also became preoccupied, even obsessed with food. That's a pretty powerful paragraph, and it really just rings true in my head. All the years I've dieted, all the things that I've done to restrict myself could have been contributing to my food obsession. That's very interesting. He then talks about this National Weight Control Registry. The objective of this organization is to learn why certain individuals are able to hold on to their weight loss. In December of 2011, the New York Times published an article where they interviewed some of these extraordinary individuals. The successful dieters shared how they have to be hyper-vigilant to maintain their ideal weight. Many of them still have to count calories every single day. Some of them even call ahead to restaurants before they attempt a meal out. The Times reported that for these individuals, weight maintenance efforts are as much work as losing the weight in the first place. It's time-consuming, carefully planned, lifelong commitment predicated on unwavering willpower. Far from peaceful thinness, it is very hard work. Even spokespersons for national weight loss companies report that the effort required to keep the weight off is as significant as the effort exerted to lose it. Now ponder this question: why is there a need for an entire organization to track those who have managed to maintain their weight loss at a national level? What does that convey to you about our current methods of losing weight? Let's examine one simple fact. There was a time in our lives when maintaining a healthy weight was not a struggle. I don't even know if I could say that, to be quite honest, but we're rolling with this. There was a time when we were lean without counting anything. There was a time when we didn't obsess about food. There was a time when we didn't eat compulsively. How are we different from women who don't have these types of food struggles and are thin? That was the pivotal question that changed my life. Moving on. More food, less pleasure. So in the past 10 years, science has made significant progress in understanding why it is so difficult for chronic dieters to achieve long-term weight loss. Our flavor-enhanced food, unrealistic body images, frantic lifestyles, and chronic dieting have caused our brains to change. We've become food obsessed and depleted our limited willpower to resist the plethora of temptations all around us. It's just really sinking in. I mean, how many times we've restricted ourselves and restricted ourselves and restricted ourselves? Because that's what we all think, that's how you lose weight, right? We use food to soothe ourselves in the midst of hectic activity, and when we eat, we do so compulsively. These brain level changes have been documented via imaging technologies. Scientists can now measure statistically significant differences between obese and naturally thin populations. When both groups eat appetizing foods, the amount of dopamine produced in the brain, you know, dopamine's like the feel-good hormone that is released. The amount of dopamine produced in the brain of an obese person is lower than the amount produced in a naturally thin person. Dopamine is experienced as pleasure, so contrary to popular belief, an obese person experiences less pleasure from food than her thin counterpart. The obese person needs to eat more food to experience the same amount of pleasure as the thin person. Next section she talks about, she calls famine brain. Our ancestors adapted to periods of food scarcity by eating as much as possible when food was plentiful. The modern result is that diets prime the brain's reward system for overeating behavior. Weight loss dieting, by definition, requires reducing food intake below what the body needs to maintain its present form. Although there is no real food scarcity, all of the built-in mechanisms that ensure our survival register a drop in calorie consumption. Researchers are finding, to their dismay, that any kind of weight loss deploys our personal neurochemical arsenal and triggers the imperative to eat. What does that mean? To me, that means when we are trying to create a calorie deficit by eating less, exercising more, which we've been told over and over that's how we would lose weight, right? By doing that, we're triggering this kind of survival mode for our body. Our body's saying, okay, wait, we're not getting as much as we think we need. We're getting less calories than our body needs to do what we need to do. So maybe we need to hold on to some of this. Maybe we need to hold on to it so we don't go, it goes into a survival mode. The body, it seems, doesn't know when it's storing too much fat. It only knows when it's in jeopardy of losing fat. So in a valiant attempt to regain homeostasis, our system lowers our levels of the hormone that indicates satiety, called leptin, and pumps the hunger hormone ghrelin. It's Ghrelin. Some of this is very new to me. This is very interesting. Into the bloodstream. We call these mechanisms famine brain for short. Scientists still don't know exactly how the brain and physical hunger systems interact to support or override each other. What we do know is that for many, chronic dieting results in a brain that is food obsessed. How do we restore a healthy brain? While the causes of obesity are numerous, the common thread among them is plasticity of the brain, also called neuroplasticity. As the brain adapts to modern lifestyles, which include stress, overabundance of food, and flavor-enhanced products, it's changed. The good news is that we have also learned to take advantage of neuroplasticity to rewire the brain to its healthy state. We are able to restore it. And this is where I am super interested because this brain needs some rewiring. She breaks down into 4 basic steps here. Number 1, learn to differentiate brain hunger from physical hunger. Number 2, observe the brain hunger. Number 3, name the real need and address it. And number 4, experience success and measure progress. In contrast to brain hunger, Physical hunger has tangible, objective signs. Your stomach grumbles, your blood sugar levels low. You would welcome a variety of foods to end the physical hunger. Brain hunger typically craves very specific foods, and its one physical sign, salivation, is usually triggered by external events. Step one is the willingness and courage to name the two types of hunger. I have, in quotes, I have zero evidence of physical hunger, but I'm craving food. That means I'm experiencing brain hunger. I've actually done that. I've stopped myself and said, I'm not physically hungry, my stomach's not grumbling. I, in fact, probably just ate not that long ago. Why do I want to eat more? That's where I struggle a lot of times. Even when I address it, sometimes I still just eat it anyway. And why do I do that? Well, hopefully this is going to fix that. In step two, we observe the symptoms of the addiction. For us, food is like the suave car salesman who is a friend only because he wants us to buy a car. Using several cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, we learn to redirect our entrenched thought patterns. We must recognize the pleasure hallucination for what it is, our current wiring. So kind of saying, our brain is tricking us, so to speak, into eating something that is going to hopefully cause a dopamine rush, which the dopamine is what makes us feel good. And I can see now where this is going, where it can get tangled into binge eating, because our brains or our bodies think that we need more dopamine, we need more that pleasure center, we need it stimulated, and all these foods are going to do that for us, so we think. Incorporating mindfulness practices, we learn to witness our craving and our old belief that food is going to make us feel better. In contrast to willpower, this step is where we calmly observe the craving but are not compelled to act on it. That's where I have a difficulty. Even if I recognize it, how do I stop myself, even though I know, instead of saying, well, I don't care, whatever, I still want it and I eat it. In step three, we name the real need. Are we tired, stressed, disappointed, angry, frustrated, or what? Do we need to take a break, go for a run, express disappointment? In other words, acknowledge an emotional need and address it instead of stuffing it with food. In step four, we continuously recognize our successes, appreciate our progress, and move forward. The human psyche dictates that we must experience progress to continue any long journey. The less severe the food addiction and the more pleasure we experience as we recognize our progress, the shorter the rewiring process. Conversely, acute addiction and an inability to experience the pleasure of progress will slow the rewiring process. There's no diet prescribed in this book, so I'm not going to be talking about, obviously me reading it. We're not going to be talking about any specific diets. He says, although we do show that foods with flavor enhancers, high sugar content, or high salt content are addictive. Ending food addiction will mean ending consumption of these types of foods. She goes on to say a step-by-step program in this book, which we'll kind of get to. And the biggest thing, and I'm highlighting this, highlight, success is not dependent on willpower. Willpower is not going to get us, and when I say us, I keep saying us, people like me, that the dieting thing just doesn't work. I need something more than to just rely on willpower. Willpower is not enough for some of us. Chapter 1 summary. Our chronic struggle to lose weight is caused by the dieting cycle and other factors that have modified our brains to become food obsessed. The issue is not to find a novel way to lose weight. Most of us are experts on that topic. The real issue is why many of the women who lose weight can eat sensibly only through Herculean white-knuckle efforts. Based on my personal experience of the weight loss roller coaster, I know that you have lived through many disappointments and watched in horror as your hard-won weight goals evaporated in a matter of weeks after many, many months of hard work. The objective of this work is not to change our behavior to mimic a naturally thin woman, nor to adopt her thinking or beliefs, but to return to feeling about food the way a naturally thin woman does. I finally understand how we can comprehensively end the dieting madness. I'm going to share my experience backed by the latest scientific studies that returning to our naturally thin woman's brain is the foundation for lifelong and peaceful thinness. The rest of this book is an invitation for you to reclaim your naturally thin woman's brain, and it includes the tools to return to peaceful thinness. That is the end of chapter 1. I do want to tell you that if you're serious about wanting to dig in, I do suggest to get the book, because like she said, there are some things that you will want to reference that are in the book. For those of you who just want to follow along, that's why I want to kind of highlight each chapter as I go through it too. I've already been through this audiobook, but I'm also now combing through the physical book again because I want to do this. I really want to try and see if this will help. And if you guys want to join me, I hope you want to join me. You can tune in to my next video and I'll go through chapter 2 and we'll see if we can restore our thin woman's brain. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. You must recognize the pleasure. Oh, I already said that. Really, I read like 2 pages and my eyes are crossing.